Hello guys, today I want to talk about the German driving license. This is a huge step for any German teenager. It's one of the life's milestones, and also as a foreigner in this country it's also a huge step because it's not that easy. I can tell you, I was living in Mexico, and when I moved to the US it was very easy to get the test done, and the written test and the driving test, and I had my driving license in 2 or 3 weeks that I had to wait for it. But here in Germany it's another story. It's a far more complicated process. First I would like to tell you about how you can start driving in Germany without a German driving license. When you come here as a foreigner or as a tourist, you can drive here for 6 months. Most of the nationalities can drive here for 6 months with their home country's driving license. For Americans, I know that it's special. They can drive here up to 1 year, and also if they come here with the military, the process is a bit different because they get all the instruction manuals and all the information from the military, and they help them prepare for tests, and it's a different process. So I will tell you my experience as with my Mexican driving license. Also, another important thing to consider is, for example, it happened to me when I got here. A few days later, after I got here, my Texas driving license expired. So that was a big problem. If I knew back then, I would have done the process immediately, because Germany has different treaties and different contracts with different countries, and in the case of the United States, it has a different treaty with each of the states of the United States. And it turns out that for Texas, I just had to go there and pay like 50 euros and do the exchange, take my pictures, and that's it. I would have been able to skip all the classes and all the tests and everything. So if I knew back then, I would have done the first thing I since I got here. But as I was troubled with other types of documentation and many things of the move, I didn't think about it, and then it expired. And it turns out that if you come here with an expired driving license, you have to do the whole process from the beginning. So fortunately I had my Mexican driving license that it doesn't expire. But it's quite a different process. I came here with my Mexican driving license and told them that it wasn't expired. So the first step that you should do is to go to a driving school. You cannot avoid that. You have to go to a driving school and subscribe with them. You have to sign in with the driving school. You cannot just go to the government office immediately. You have to go first with the driving school to get a paper. After that, you have to get your, it's called Erste Hilfe course. It means first aid course. There's no way you can avoid that, at least in the case of the Mexican driving license. I had to do it. So they give courses. They're very cheap. It's like 20 euros. And they give them mostly every Saturday or Sunday, and it's tedious thing because it takes like 6 hours. It's an all-day thing. So you arrive there at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. and it's like 6 hours. So and you have to do that first thing after going to your driving school. And then you have to take your pictures. The best way to take the pictures is to go to there are many machines in the U-Bahn stations or the train stations that make your pictures for the passport. They are called biometric pictures, so it's exactly the same. So you just go there and take your pictures. They require two pictures you have to take. And the third requirement, you need to take with you to the driver's driving license office, or Führerscheinstelle, it's the German name. you have to take with you as eye test. So you have to go to. Yeah, you have two options. You can go to any optic or to any lenses or glasses store and get them do it for you there. It's like €6. And I will put here an example. You can see here the example of the of how an eye test looks like here in Germany. It's also different. In the US and in Mexico, it's letters, like in the doctors, letters and numbers. But here it's these weird circles with the slots opening. So you have to say if it's up, down, up right, up left, down right, down left, whatever you have to tell them. It's quite complicated. It's different than the letters and numbers. For me, it was more difficult than that. The test is very cheap. It's like €6. So there are some packages. I will put down in the description the links to the one that I took here in Frankfurt. But I'm sure that in most big cities there is the same kind of service, where they do the first aid course, and they take your pictures and they do the C test. It's the name in German, or the eye test. So you can do the three of them in the same place, like for €30 or something. So it's not very expensive. Another tip is to look very carefully for your driving school. In my case, I found one where the teacher is the owner, and it's like kind of a family business. But if you go to the big ones, to the chains, there is one in particular here. For example, it's called Schroeder's Fahrschule. Those guys, I didn't like them really, because the guy spoke perfect English, but they tried to rip me off. They told me that the Mexican driving license was not valid, and they told me that I had to do the whole thing from the beginning, like if I was a new teenager learning to drive. And they wanted to sell me the whole package of lessons and everything, and it was like 1,500 euros for the whole thing. So when I discovered that different Fahrschules or driving schools offer different plans and different prices and different things, that's where I felt really ripped off by this by this company. So I suggest you to find the smaller driving schools, the ones that have only one or two locations, the more close to home in the small town, rather than the big ones that have countrywide branches, because they normally try just to rip you off. If they see that you don't speak very well German, and that you are a foreigner, and that you don't know the process, they will try to rip you off for sure. So that's my recommendation in that regard. And regarding the first aid course, I consider that my German was basic enough, but good enough to understand it. They don't do you any test for you to understand. So I said, okay, I will understand it. I have taken first aid courses in other countries, and I know the stuff. So I just go there and sit down for 6 hours. But it's not so simple, because they put you to work in couples or with the group, and they put you to do the exercises to see if you really understood. And they make some questions to the audience sometimes, and if they ask you and you don't understand, they will say, what the hell with this guy. So when after a while they took some guys from other classroom to mine, and they said that these guys spoke English and the teacher spoke English. So he said, who else is here doesn't speak German? And I raised my hand, and they said, oh, why didn't you say something in the beginning? So I didn't know that the course was they were able to give it in English. So ask before you join the course if they can give it to you in other languages. The easiest obviously is to get it in German, and after that in English. In Spanish I didn't find any courses, so I suggest to you to look at least for the English version to try to do it. So just keep that in mind. It's not so easy to fool them into saying, yeah, I'm understanding and I just sat here for 6 hours. You have to really demonstrate some kind of understanding. As something I forgot to tell you, after you go to your driving school or even in parallel, it's good you have to go to an office called ADAC, ADAC, and in this office you take your driving license, and you have to get a translation, because if it's not in English, or if it's on, basically for anything you have to translate it to German to be sure, because it all depends in the person that in the person on the other side of the counter in the Führerscheinstelle, or the driver's license office. If they are in the mood to speak to you in English and if they are in a nice mood, they will accept your driving license in English. But if not, they will ask you for the translation. So it's better to be prepared, because this translation takes like 2 weeks. So you have to take your driving license with you, the Mexican or from whatever country you are, take it to ADAC and ask for a translation, an official translation. So this translation takes like 2 weeks, as I said, and it costs like 50 euros. It's quite expensive for really the thing that they are doing for you, but it's something that needs to be done. So it's the first paper you need to get, or get it in parallel with your driving school. Also, something difficult is that the driving schools, not all of them speak English. So when you find a teacher or a driving school that they speak English, hang on to it. It's not so easy to find one. In my case, my teacher spoke English, but very poorly, so it was also quite complicated to communicate with him, but we could make it. So once you get your translation, your paper from the driving school, your eye test, your first aid course, and your pictures, you gather all together. But as I was saying before, in my case, my driving license from Mexico was from 2004, so they required me to provide some kind of proof that I lived in Mexico at least 6 months after I got my driving license. So I didn't know it was a requirement. So, for example, the first thing I thought when I got here and I saw that it was so complicated, I said, okay, I will go to Spain to get my driving license and then come here and switch it. Or get back to the USA to renew my Texas driving license, come back here and just trade it. But it's not so simple. If I did that, if I go back to the US and and renew it, they require me to be at least 6 months in the US before coming back here and trade it. So it's not so easy. So in my case, in the Mexican one, that it was from 2004, in order to confirm that I lived at least for 6 months after it, they requested me letters from my employers of those periods of time. So fortunately I had them for another process that I had years ago, so I had those letters. But if not, you will have to get in touch with your employers and get those letters. Those were acceptable in English, so I managed to get them in English only without a translation, and they accepted them without any problem. So in that regard, they are quite flexible. Maybe there are many other ways to confirm that you were living in your country for at least 6 months after the issue of your driving license. I don't know. In my case, these were the papers that they requested me. So I took my driving license school application. I took the 3 things: the first aid course, the eye test, the pictures, and my letters, and this translation from my Mexican driving license. And I took them to the Führerscheinstelle, or the driving license office from the government. I will put also links here in the description on how you can find out what is your local office, and I can put also information from the one in Frankfurt, just in case you are here. And once you take everything there to the counter, I suggest that if you don't speak any German at all, to take a German friend with you, because most of the time they refused to speak in English to me, so it was very complicated in that regard. I have basic German, like level B1, so I could manage to understand most of it and to get myself understood. So once you take all these papers, you pay, I don't remember exactly the fee, but it's around 50 euros, that it's the fee for the government. And they give you a paper, and they tell you that they will send information to your driving school in around 2 to 4 weeks. So you have to wait and be in communication with your driving school. So when they get your papers, then after that, after they get your papers, your driving school can schedule your written test. So if you want, you can have some lessons, but in the case of Mexico, I was able to skip the classroom lessons, so I didn't have to do that. But you still have to do the written test. So in my case, I purchased in the driving school. They sell you kits with the information. They give you the book, an iPhone and Android app, and they give you the software for your computer. The book comes in German in all cases, so there's no way around it, but the software can come in many languages, in Spanish, in Italian, in French, in English, in many languages. So what I did was to study with with software in the computer and in my cell phone, and I can tell you this software, it's an exact simulation of the test. So if you learn by heart all the questions, it's kind of difficult because it's more than 1,000 questions, but I practice the questions until I was passing the practice test there, and I can tell you it's exactly the same. They even the same look and feel, and the translation is a bit sketchy, but it's a good translation. I did it in English because it's more similar English to German than Spanish to German, and I feel like the translation to Spanish is quite a bit weirder, but you can do it in Spanish also. So when your driving school teacher books your exam, you can choose the language that you want it to be. So yeah, also remember to mention this to the person in the government, in the Führerscheinstelle. Remember to mention that you want to do the test in English, Spanish, Italian, or wherever. So they put, because I remember that in the application form they put the language that I want to make the test. So I'm not sure if you don't say it then, if the school teacher can still do it, but just to be sure, just mention them that. And once the teacher gets your papers from the government, once they get your papers, they can schedule you the exam, the test. The test is very simple. You have to go to a TÜV office. TÜV is it's a private company here in Germany that makes certifications of things. So it's like makes it official. So you go there and they sit you in a computer and you do it. But you have to agree with your teacher the time where you want to do the test. So once the test is scheduled, you have to take 20 euros with you, because you have to pay directly to the TÜV 20 euros. And you go there, you say that you have your appointment, you have your 20 euros, and you do the test. You know immediately after you finish the test, you know if you passed or not. If the test software in the end sends to print the certificate, you are good to go. If not, you fail the test, and then you will have to do it again. You can do it as many times as you want. Obviously you have to pay every time. And also consider this, you pay 20 euros there in the TÜV, but at the end of the whole process you will be paying 70 more euros to the driving school for each test. So consider that the test in reality it cost 90 euros, not 20. So I didn't know that. I thought, oh, it's so cheap, I can do it 10 times and fail, but no, it's 90 euros. So I failed the first time, and just for a single question. If I had one single question correct, I would have passed, and I was very angry. it's very sensitive to mistakes. If most of the questions have many options, and if a question has 3 options that are correct, and you need to put the whole 3, because if you don't put them, if one is wrong, the whole question is wrong. So it's quite not so it's you don't have so much opportunity to fail. You can fail only like 2 or 3 questions at most of the whole test. So consider that you have to learn them very well. I underestimated the test the first time. So study all your questions, all the flashcards that the software has. I forgot to mention this software and the book and everything cost like 70 euros. So there are 2 or 3 different versions or from different companies you can choose. I will put down here the link to the one that I used. So that one I can recommend it because I already used it and it helped me pass. So once you pass your test, you get your paper, and you call back your driving school and tell them, hey, I passed my driving test, my written driving test, and now what's the next step? So in my case, the teacher told me, okay, I want you to drive at least one lesson first to get a feel and to know if you could pass the test, the real test, or if you need more lessons. I have been driving since I was 12 years old, and I have driven in Mexico, in Canada, in USA. Even here I drove the first 2 weeks, and still the teacher told me that I had to have some driving lessons because in Germany there are so many freaking signs in each crossing that you don't have time to see them all, so you have to get used to it and you have to have practice. And in the written test you can see that there are many oh, there is a kid here and they are playing there, and there is a bicycle guy and there is a truck unloading. I said, okay, this is exaggerated or whatever, but no, in reality, when you are driving here in a town, everything of that happens. You can see a kid in the bicycle, a kid crossing the street when it's not permitted, kids playing bicycles. You can see any type of thing, so you have to be ready for everything and follow all the rules, and every single sign is for a reason, so you have to learn them all, and you have to follow them and be attentive, don't be distracted and everything. So in the end I had to have like 4 or 5 lessons. They were merely practice. I wasn't really learning anything new that I didn't know, but I was practicing to be aware of everything, and some little changes in the rules that I didn't know. For example, in the US, the turn to the right is always continuous if no one is coming, even if you have a red light. Here now, in most cases, if you have a red light, you have to wait as if it was a stop sign before turning right, or even you have to wait for a green arrow to the right. There are slight differences. There are some signs that don't exist in the US or in Mexico that you have to be aware of. Yeah, that's a whole new material for another video. So probably next week, if you put here in the comments that you're interested, and probably next week I will talk about the differences in driving here and driving in the US and Mexico, Canada, or the countries that I have driven. I can make some differences and post some of the different signs that you don't have in other countries, or that I'm not aware of in other countries. There are many funny things, like the exit in German it's Ausfahrt, and I have heard many foreigners saying that they think that Ausfahrt is a town, and they say, hey, all the exits get to the same town, and it's not that. It's just saying exit. So I will do a whole new video about that. I don't want this to extend any more than necessary. So okay, now after these lessons that you have with your teacher, he will decide when you're ready to do the practical or driving test. So once that's decided, he will book it for you for the best time that it's the best time for you and for him, and you get to meet at certain point. It's always in the surrounding area of the driving school, so you get to meet with him and the person from the tube, the engineer that will be evaluating you. So when you are driving there, the person sits beside you and your teacher in the back seat. So if the person from the tube doesn't speak English, you are in bad luck, and you have to learn at least the German commands for rechts abbiegen, that it's turn right, links abbiegen, that it's turn left, geradeaus, or to continue straight, or under Ampel, rechts abbiegen in the red light, or whatever. So you have to learn at least those basic commands. In my case, I told my teacher to the final 2 classes to make it totally in German, so I get used to the instructions. They will measure in that test. They will measure how aware you are, if you respect the speed limit. But also a big tip here, don't drive too slow. If you drive too slow and too cautious, they will consider you, my teacher said that you drive like a baby, and they don't like that. So whenever you go on the autobahn and there is no speed limit, just push it over 120 kilometers per hour. They will want to see you overcome cars. That's one of the points of the test. They want you to see how you overcome cars, how you take an exit in the autobahn, how you park in parallel or in battery, how you manage to do an emergency braking. Don't be afraid when they tell you this is an emergency braking situation. Consider like you are like a kid just cross the street and you have 1 second to react. You have to push the clutch and the brake all the way and really brake. Don't be afraid to brake hard. That's another tip that I can give you. Another tip I forgot to mention is that when you go to the Führerscheinstelle with your teacher, tell them and make it very clear. Obviously, if this is your wish, that you want to learn, that you want to get the driving license for manual transmission, because if you get it only for automatic, you will have a restriction in your driving license, and you will be only able to drive automatic cars, no manual transmission. But if you do the test on manual transmission, you can drive automatic or manual transmission equally. So that's another thing. If you know how to drive manual transmission, better go that way, even if you are planning to buy an automatic car. So that's another tip. And another tip for the test is obviously follow all the rules. Small mistakes are still acceptable, but something that is not acceptable is something that may put at risk the life of someone. If you don't stop, for example, in the zebra crossings and there's someone trying to cross and you don't let them cross, that's a huge offense. If you pass a red light, obviously, if you go over the speed limit. My teacher told me that if you go 5 kilometers per hour over the speed limit, it's still considered acceptable, but don't push it. Don't go over the speed limit. But if you are in a street that its speed limit 70 and you're driving at 30, it's also considered bad, because it's not safe to drive so slow in a faster street. Obviously, in the autobahn, when you are entering the autobahn, push it at least to 100 immediately in the ramp up lane. So another tip that my teacher gave me: if you are in the ramp up lane by entering in the autobahn, and the lane ends and you can still not go into, it's still okay to drive on the shoulder for a few meters until you are able to join the autobahn. It's better than stopping and having all the traffic behind you stopped. It's more dangerous, so it's okay to drive on the shoulder. What else can tell you? Well, after you finish the test, you've another tip one friend gave me: when you finish the test and the engineer tells you, okay, you passed, don't drive them home or don't drive them anywhere. You just go back, park, and if they tell you, do you want to drive me back to the office, don't accept, because a friend of mine, it happened to him that he was approved and everything, and he was so excited, and when they told him, okay, would you drive me to the office? Yeah, of course. And he drove them, and he was all confident and he was already passed and everything, but he violated something, some rule or whatever, and they rejected the driving license. So if they tell you you passed, and don't drive any more than you are needed to. So the test is normally 30 minutes. It can extend to 40 if they are still not quite convinced that you are able to drive, or it can be short if they see, this guy is mastering the test. So in my case, the test was like 15-20 minutes, because they saw that I was having good handling of the car and I knew the rules and everything. So it all depends on the engineer and everything. So just when you pass the test, they give you a paper, they sign it, they stamp it, and then you have to take this paper to the Führerscheinstelle and your ID, and don't forget your old driving license. In my case, the Mexican driving license, because the German government keeps them. They keep your old driving license, they give you the German one, and they destroy the old one. So I wasn't so happy about that, because the Mexican one that I had didn't expire, and it's always good to have a driving license that doesn't expire. But I preferred to have the German one now, because I wasn't able to drive here after a year of being here. Actually, after 6 months for Mexico of being here, it's invalid. So if they catch you driving with a driving license, and even if you say, no, I just arrived yesterday, if they confirm, in Germany they have a paper and they can confirm when you moved in, it's a huge offense, and you can even lose your right to have a driving license. So don't do that. So I took my paper, my driving license and my passport, and exchanged this paper for my German driving license. You can see here a picture of my driving license. Information is blurred, but you can see how it looks. If you have a EU driving license from Spain, Italy, France, whatever, you can see that they're exactly the same. It's just in German. It's a standard process in the whole EU. So this process that I just described, I'm pretty sure it works also in other countries like this. What I'm sure is Germany is a very bureaucratic and very paperwork oriented country, so if you can get it here, you can get it anywhere. So for me it was a huge achievement to get this driving license. So also before, I forgot to tell you, before you get your scheduling for your driving test, you have to pay off anything that you owe to the driving school. So it's quite a bit of money there, because each driving lesson costs like 30 euros, if I remember correctly, and as I told you, 70 euros per written test, and also the driving test cost like 200 euros, if I remember correctly. At the end, my whole process, without any classroom classes, my whole process was around 700 or 800 euros. I hear from other people that for first timers that have to do the whole process and they are not exchanging any driving license or anything, it can go up to 2,000 euros, depending on how many times you fail, how many classes in the classroom you need, how many driving classes you need. It can be really expensive to get it. In my case, I consider that it was quite a fair price considering this. Obviously, in comparison to the US, that it was like $100 it's very expensive to get a driving license here. But I will talk about that in the following video with the differences. So I hope this video is helpful for everyone. I will put all the resources and all the information that you may need here in the description. and I wish you good luck. And if you have any questions, please post them in the comments, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that I may be able to answer. So or maybe refer you to the right source of information. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you really like my videos, don't forget to support me. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I plan on doing more interesting videos. Also, if you have some subject in mind that you would like me to discuss with you or to make a video about, please post it in the comments. I'm open to suggestions. There are so many things that I'm able to talk about moving to Germany or living here, that I can help you out. I already suffered many things here for a year that I have been living here. So my German level is far better than when I got here, that I just knew how to say danke. So I also can help you with that. So post in the comments, subscribe, and share the video if you consider it good and if you liked it. So thank you guys, and see you next week.